Good afternoon, everyone. It is the afternoon of July 31st, 2025. I finished work for today, and I thought I would put out a video talking again about high-speed rail. High-speed rail is a very interesting niche topic. The people who believe in it fervently. It's a very religious dogma to them, and they just think America is idiots for not having high-speed rail. Somebody put up a good tweet that I thought kind of laid out the argument for it quite well. I wanted to go over it. It says today, Los Angeles and the Bay Area will see 130 flights in both directions, equivalent to a plane departing every 6.5 minutes for 18 hours a day. Hard to argue it's not a perfect candidate for fast trains. Okay, so the basic idea is look at how many people are trying to get between San Francisco and LA. There's tons of them. There's all these flights going on. So that means that there is plenty of demand for a high-speed rail service. Okay, does that claim work? Now, the idea is, in theory, it should work fine. You've got two very dense metro areas. They're not particularly far apart. I mean, it's not like 1,000 miles or anything. There's a substantial distance between them. And because they're both on a coastal plain, it's not super mountainous like the interior of California is. It's not flat like Florida, certainly, but it should be workable is the idea. So why not go ahead and just build this high-speed rail line? Let's start with the obvious, which is that they've tried. In fact, California's been trying since the mid-90s. The California High-Speed Rail Association was established in the mid-90s. It is now the mid-2020s, and after 30 years, they have yet to move a single passenger. So there's your first problem. Your second problem lies within the question itself. 130 flights per day. What that means is that, yes, there is substantial demand for rapid transit between San Francisco and Los Angeles. It also means there's substantial supply to meet that demand. The fact that there are this many flights means those flights are being booked and people are using them. So while there is demand, there is also supply. So the idea is that you will now have to build this system that will go in and now compete with a pre-existing, already profitable system to try to dominate the same market. Now, certainly that's been done before, but let's be clear: you're not moving into a virgin market unopposed. You're moving into a very saturated market that already has adequate supply and at a price people are willing to pay. Now, the next thing is the idea is that, well, we'll have this high-speed rail, and the high-speed rail will be really fast. You always get these very fancy numbers of 220 miles an hour, 230 miles an hour, which is a nice number and all, but I ran a search. What is the actual effective operating speed of high-speed rails? Not the top-end speed, because high-speed rail typically only will hit its top-end speed occasionally and then only for brief moments. So I turned to Western Europe, where there's a lot of high-speed rail, and found out what speeds do their high-speed trains actually operate at. And typically it's between 155 and 185 miles per hour, which is really fast compared to a car. However, as this tweet uses, is airlines. So let's talk about their speed compared to an airline. So you can expect a high-speed train to move at between 155 to 185 miles an hour on average while it's actually operating, as opposed to its top-end speed, which is always what they use to market it. A jetliner is typically going to move at 500 to 600 miles per hour while operating. So the high-speed rail is less than half, in fact, substantially less than half the speed of a flight. Now remember, these are direct flights too. So you're talking more than doubling, maybe as much as tripling your amount of transit time. So the idea that this is going to be fast when compared to planes is not accurate. It's probably a lot faster than a car. It's definitely going to be a lot faster than a bicycle, but it's nowhere near as fast as a plane, and there's already 130 of those flights per day, every day. So the second thing or I guess really the third thing I did, was I started looking up the map, the proposed route for the California High-Speed Rail Association that they're trying to build between San Francisco and Los Angeles. And here is what I found. It is expected that they will get the first section, because that's what they're trying to build. They're trying to build a high-speed rail from San Francisco to LA. They're expecting the first section to come into operation sometime between 2031 and 2033. So roughly 40 years of work to build the first section. The cost to be $30 to $38 billion. So figure $32, $33 billion to build this section. This section is 171 miles. Assuming it actually shows up at the projected time and at the projected budget, which at this point is very iffy because they've already pushed back the time several times and they've increased the budget several times. But nonetheless, this first section does not go to Los Angeles, nor does it go to San Francisco, nor does it come particularly close to them. The first section is from Merced to Bakersfield. So you are well up. Merced is well outside of San Francisco. It's to the southeast. It's closer to Yosemite. And Bakersfield is well north of Los Angeles. In fact, it's well north of even Palmdale. The other thing to know about this section is you will not do a direct route between Merced and Bakersfield. You will make 3 stops. First at Madera, then at Fresno, then at Kings and Tulare. So if you want to use this high-speed rail and start in Bakersfield, you can expect an operating speed of somewhere in the 150 to 180 mile an hour range and at least 3 stops prior to getting to your destination, which will still have you hell and gone from San Francisco. Same is true vice versa. You would have to leave San Francisco, drive all the way to Merced, which is going to take a little while, then hop on your train, stop 3 times before you get to Bakersfield, and then from Bakersfield you're going to have to drive to Los Angeles. So if you're counting on this to replace direct flights that move at well over double the speed high-speed rail does, it's just not going to happen. But let's assume for the sake of argument that maybe by 2045 or 2050, and at the cost of, I believe the latest estimate had it well in excess of $100 billion, you have this entire rail network put together. And you actually can go from San Francisco to Los Angeles. Aside from the fact that you're moving at well below half the speed of a plane, you're also moving a much less direct route. The route that has been designed starts from San Francisco, heads south, and then veers far to the east and goes inland, and then goes south again, and then has to veer back out to the west again to Los Angeles. So it's a very indirect route. The next thing to know about this is, according to the map that the Rail Association has put out, let's say you're going from San Francisco to LA. If you're on a plane, it's going to take off, it's going to land in LA. I've done that flight, takes about an hour. From San Francisco, if you leave from the San Francisco station, you're first going to stop in Millbrae, then again in San Jose, then again in Gilroy, then again in Madera, then again in Fresno, then again in Kings, then again in Bakersfield, then again in Palmdale, then again in Burbank, and finally your 10th stop will be Los Angeles. So you are going to move at less than half the speed of a plane, and you are going to stop, which means your speed drops to 0, 9 separate times before you get to LA. The point is, this is going to be massively longer than flying. You're talking triple, quadruple the amount of time that it's going to take to do a flight. You're going to do a lot more stops. There's going to be a lot more people getting on and off, blah, 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 all that kind of stuff. Guys, this is not going to work. You're talking about the idea of this high-speed rail. I'm using California as an example, but the idea is if we spend 40 or 50 years working on it, we dump over $100 billion into it, we will then have a product that we can move that costs similar to what airlines do, and it's going to take 4 times as long as a flight does, and that's going to be competitive. No, it's not. It's never going to be competitive. It's never going to be close to being competitive. The airline is going to be so much faster and so much more convenient. It's not even close. Now, you may, but you still have to get to the airport, and you got to get there early, and you got to go through security. You're going to have to get to the train station. You're going to have to get there early. You're going to have to go through security on that as well. All those problems still exist with the train. They do not magically go to 0. So my point of all this is, yes, I understand that people really love the high-speed rail idea, but when you actually start crunching the numbers and comparing it to its competitor mode of transportation, which is air travel, it sucks. It's useless. It's not going to work. Now, there is the idea of an express lane between LA to Vegas and back. That has at least a theoretical chance of working because it doesn't have a bunch of stops. It's still going to be much slower than flying and probably really not much cheaper. So I have serious doubts about it, but at least it doesn't have a ton of stops and it's a more direct route. It doesn't have all the big, east-west moves and stuff like. Well, I guess for that one it'd be more of a north-south move, but it doesn't move the wrong direction. But again, I know people like to put out these maps of, oh, look at this high-speed rail, and this is going to be amazing. And it's like, yeah, except for that people don't want to make a bunch of stops along their way. The equivalent for a plane trip would be saying, okay, I'm going to fly out of LA and I'm going to go to this airport, then I'm going to go to another airport, then I'm going to go to another airport, and then I'm going to go to San Francisco. That's nuts. No one's going to do that. You have direct flights. So yes, popular dream. People really like it. The numbers do not work, not even a little bit. I do believe this will eventually get built. I will be a very old man by the time it's done. I might not live long enough to see it. And the taxpayers will already be in the hole well in excess of $100 billion. That's before a penny of operating costs is spent. So when they start getting the revenue for those train tickets, they start out over $100 billion in the hole. It will never make a profit. It will never make even. And by the way, I'm not even factoring in all the billions of dollars of interest costs on this. And this is just direct costs. And again, we have factored in operating costs. So keep dreaming. Good luck. Never going to happen.